Welcome back to Drunk Storytime with Quefish. Quefish, drunk. I'm drinking Bitch Bubbly. It's not bad. We are now going to go and visit not that bad when you get used to it. I have been advised, as I told everyone I would be, that I've been pronouncing it incorrectly. Because, of course I have. So, I have been pronouncing it Chamyl, and it is a hard CH. So, I'm still not sure if it's Chamyl or Chamyl. So I'm going to go completely to the other side of reasonable and go Chamyl, and wait for them to correct me again, because it's much funnier this way than to just ask. So this is chapter 23 of Not That Bad When You Get Used to It. Croquembouche. I'm just proud of myself that I know how to pronounce that word. In Crowley's defense, when Aziraphale gets lost in a book, he might not move at all for hours on end. Which is to say, he doesn't think it's his fault that he didn't notice right away that the angel had gotten himself discorporated. He hadn't thought anything of Aziraphale not returning his greeting when he'd strolled into the bookshop that night. He'd seen the back of the angel's head peeking from the back of the couch and had assumed he was focused on one of his books. He found himself a comfortable seat, put his boots on the coffee table, and popped open a bottle of wine as he waited for Aziraphale to finish his reading. When he hears the angel's voice from somewhere to his left, he's halfway through his third glass of wine. Crowley. Aziraphale sounds like he is speaking to him through yards of water. Can you hear me? Crowley looks at the back of the angel's head and quirks an eyebrow. Yeah? Oh, good. Where are we? Aziraphale asks. In your bookshop? Crowley replies, frowning. What are you reading that has you so engrossed? Ah, well, that's quite the problem here, actually. You see, Aziraphale's voice moves to the demon's right, and Crowley gives the bottle of wine an accusatory look. What have I been drinking? I was going through this tome that I've had for a few centuries, and, well, didn't quite remember it came from a time when arsenic was still used as dye. And you know perfectly well I have a terrible habit of wetting my fingers before turning a page. Crowley, who remembers every single time in the last 6,000 years Aziraphale got his tongue out for anything, grunts in agreement. I'm afraid I got myself quite efficiently discorporated, the angel finishes. Crowley stares at Aziraphale's head, at Aziraphale's corporation's head against the couch. Suddenly, this night got a lot spookier than he was prepared for. Anything I should do? Oh, no, it's quite all right, Aziraphale reassures him. I spoke to Michael, and they granted me a new corporation within the next 24 hours. They were quite rude, really. Told me I can have anything I want as long as I don't show my face up there ever again. Good. Well, that's to be expected, Crowley groans, taking another long sip of wine. I did a very good job the last time I was there. Almost singed Gabriel's eyebrows right off his stupid face. Right. So, I'm afraid I won't be much company tonight. Aziraphale's voice floats somewhere in the proximity of Crowley's nape, and the demon shivers as he runs a hand on the back of his neck. which is a terrible, terrible shame. I just had a croquembouche delivered from an excellent new bakery down the street, and by tomorrow it won't be as good at all. Somehow, Crowley gets the impression that wherever he is, Aziraphale's giving him his trademark pout. That pout that means, "Wouldn't you be a dear and fix this for me, Crowley? I would be so thankful," and shamelessly bat my eyebrows. Eyelashes. How would you bat eyebrows? I would be so very thankful and shamelessly bat my eyelashes at you like you're my very own knight in shining armor. You know, that pout. The one that works on Crowley every single time. What? He asks. Well, since we have switched corporations once before, I was just thinking you could let me inhabit yours for a little while. Share, that is, just until tomorrow. No, Crowley replies immediately. We're not doing that. Absolutely not. Why not? Aziraphale's voice whines, and Crowley could swear the angel spirit is sitting on his lap right now. It would be for a very brief time, and we could both enjoy the croquembouche. Not interested. Thank you. But Crowley, The angel's voice is now pleading right against the shell of his ear. I need your help. Crowley sets his jaw, groans, and puts down his wine. Fine, okay? Fine. Just until your new corporation arrives. Oh, thank you, Aziraphale replies, as if the demon's agreement came as a surprise at all. But Crowley only has a split second to roll his eyes before the angel flings himself down his throat. It's an altogether unpleasant feeling, like swallowing a piece of bread that is at once too hot and too big, settling heavy inside him and making him vaguely nauseous. Although that's nothing compared to what happens right after. Crowley hadn't really thought about it, but it's obvious in hindsight. Welcoming Aziraphale into his body is a meshing of their souls, and the angel has just gained free access to all of Crowley's most intimate thoughts and feelings. When the demon inwardly curses himself for forgetting the details of how demonic possession works, Aziraphale can hear it. From that moment, it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Aziraphale sinks into his soul like a spoon in a bowl of molasses, gradually, smoothly, ineluctably. I don't know that word. Ineluctably. Until he reaches the soft core of him and sees all of it. All the hope, the longing, the love. It's fucking embarrassing is what it is. You weren't supposed to see that, Crowley croaks out. Oh, my dear. My dearest. Aziraphale sounds choked up, and also feels choked up, considering he's using Crowley's throat to speak. It's quite all right. Let me show you. Aziraphale opens his own soul to him, and Crowley finds the very same things he's been hiding from the angel all along. Most of all, an incredible amount of fondness for him, which leaves him astounded and a little breathless. And maybe it's because he's distracted and not careful enough that he peeks a little farther. A little too far. The metaphysical equivalent of opening someone's bedroom closet, and is immediately overrun by a startling amount of lewd fantasies and memories. In a single second, he's brought up to speed with 6,000 years of Aziraphale's most secret wishes. And it's a long, filthy list. He feels, all at once, how strongly Aziraphale wants him, how he has always wanted him, and all the many, many ways he would like to take him and be taken by him. When his head stops spinning, Crowley notices a strange wetness in his jeans. Ah, fuck, he says. There we go. They just basically confessed to each other after all those years of wanting, and he spoiled it immediately. Did I just come in my pants? No, love, Aziraphale replies, with Crowley's own mouth, and thankfully he doesn't sound disgusted at all. Technically speaking, I think we just came in your pants. Oh my god, that's funny. We just came in your pants. Prompt for Chapter 24, A Kind of Magic, Aziraphale's Magic Act. Crowley? Yes, Angel? Do you remember our last anniversary? Of course. Crowley tried to hide his smile behind his phone as he kept scrolling through his Pinterest feed. We went to Paris. It was a good weekend. Indeed, Aziraphale concurred, coming to sit next to him. And do you remember what you got me for the occasion? Crowley knitted his eyebrows together. Flowers? Chocolate? Brought you out to dinner someplace nice? Yes, all of those. Aziraphale smiled, and the demon could clearly spot that trademark up-to-no-good glint in his eyes. But you also got me those adorable homemade coupons. I think you got the idea on tweeting. Twitter. Crowley corrected him automatically just as he realized what Aziraphale was talking about. Oh, right. He thought it was a charming idea about a year ago. A bunch of pieces of paper that promised cute things like dust all your books, no miracles, and get through Hamlet without sighing once. Aziraphale gave him a coupon and asked, Do you have plans for the evening? Crowley looked down at the piece of paper that said, A very weird thing in bed, no questions asked. Shook his head and grinned. A very weird thing in bed, no questions asked. He grinned much less when he found himself in a magician's assistant costume, which really just meant being dressed like a Playboy bunny in a tailcoat. Moment of silence, please, as we all picture that. Thank you. It was not so much the costume that was the problem. Crowley could really get behind wearing high heels, fishnet stockings, and a ridiculous tiny top hat pinned to his long red curls. It was, as always, Aziraphale's unbearable passion for silly magic tricks that he just couldn't stand. They could do proper magic for somebody's sake. Although, most of all, Crowley was annoyed that when a very enthusiastic angel pressed him into the bed, kissing the living daylights out of him, he didn't even care anymore how ridiculous the whole thing was. Aziraphale was warm and heavy above him and very much hard against him, and Crowley forgot all about drawn-on mustaches and tartan cravats. Until Aziraphale pulled a magic wand out of his coat. Oh no. Ready for my first trick? Crowley's only answer was his deadpan expression. Not at all discouraged, Aziraphale hiked one of the demon's knees over his shoulder and tugged the stretchy fabric of his costume aside. Crowley's entirely too enthusiastic reaction... I'm going to start that one again. Crowley's entirely too enthusiastic reaction... Jesus Christ. This is not a difficult sentence. Crowley's entirely too enthusiastic erection sprung out of it, getting the same deadpan expression from his owner. Aziraphale's magic wand went poking around Crowley's asshole, and really the demon would have stopped it if it didn't actually feel quite interesting. It was much softer than a regular wand had any right to be. Much bendier, and as he soon had the chance to notice, much slicker. It slipped in easily, finding its way to his prostate with one smooth, wet push. A real shame Aziraphale had to ruin it all by declaring, "And that's my disappearing act." Aziraphale, Crowley gritted out, even as he rolled his hips to get more friction. "Before I lose my patience and regret this..." Yes, yes, of course, my dear. Aziraphale pulled out the wand. Bit of shame that, but don't tell anyone. And showed Crowley a remote-controlled vibrator. It looked normal enough, and the demon breathed a sigh of relief as Aziraphale pushed it inside him. When he was done, the angel dangled the remote in front of him for a moment. Crowley could see it had a variety of intensity levels and patterns, but just as he was reaching out to get it, Aziraphale fanned out a bunch of playing cards in front of his face instead. "Pick one, please," he asked, as if it was a totally normal thing to say. Crowley had a brief flashback of himself writing a very weird thing in bed, no questions asked, on the coupon, convinced for all the world he was a seductive, brilliant demon. He picked a card. "Oh, the 8 of spades. Let's see." Aziraphale pressed the big button on the remote exactly 8 times, and the vibrator came to life, passing through an array of options before settling on a pulsing rhythm that slowly got stronger and stronger. Oh, fuck. Crowley clung to the pillow under his head for dear life, his eyes rolling back as Aziraphale kept the massager firmly lodged inside him. He realized with startling clarity that he was going to come from this. He was going to come from Aziraphale sticking a fucking magic wand inside him and then making him pick a card. And he was going to enjoy this. Oh well, much worse fates than this. Aziraphale wrapped a firm hand around his cock and began to move. But just as Crowley breathed out a sigh of relief and prepared to let go, the angel slowly pulled the vibrator out. And then kept pulling. And then pulled some more. Crowley frowned as he saw the massager on the bed, and yet very clearly felt as Aziraphale kept pulling something out of him. Something long, round, and bumpy. Slowly, a long string of rainbow-colored anal beads slid out of him one by one. A trick Aziraphale had never really managed with a scarf. It always got tangled somewhere, but apparently could execute perfectly in the bedroom. What the... Crowley had no way to finish that thought. Aziraphale pumped his hand faster and pressed a big bead back inside him with his thumb, gifting him with one of the best orgasms he'd ever had. As he tried to catch his breath, the angel came to lie next to him. Not too bad, I hope? Crowley could hear every bit of badly disguised smugness in Aziraphale's voice, but at that point didn't even care anymore. Better than expected. He adjusted his costume inelegantly as he kissed the angel on the corner of his lips, right below his badly drawn mustache. At least no live rabbits were involved. Oh my god. Oh, there is a lovely, lovely piece of art that goes along with that by Gothic Mouse. So definitely check out the link. Okay, so let's see. How long is this next one? I am going to hold on to this one for next week, so that way we can have 2 in 1. 2 for video next week also. So this one is chapter 24 and 25. Nope, it was chapter 23 and 24. See, I forgot already. Not That Bad When You Get Used to It by Chamyl. I'm going to stick by that pronunciation. So, Thank you for joining me.